Travis Van Goodsell. I'm on a streak right now on Block Puzzle Blast Jigsaw Plus. Why don't they just call it Autopilot Jenga, or not Jenga? I can't remember the name. But anyway, I'm over 100,000 more than my highest score. So, yay. In McFadden and Whitehead's Ain't No Stopping Us Now, they are telling people to stay away from those with a negative vibe. Back in the days of feelings, nothing more than feelings. Yeah, it's where people give off bad and good feelings, and you need to stay away from the bad and only embrace the good. And then those kids grew up to be teachers to implement the participation trophy graduation. Oh, you went through school, here's your participation trophy. Good luck in the job market. Yeah, it's false doctrine. And it's a dangerous one, too. Because people who have a negative vibe may have just lost their parents. They need to be with people. And if you're the abusive kind that does not understand that they're talking about, I'm moving up, I want the world to know, got to let it show, different song, you end up causing damage in society. And so, yeah, those kinds of precepts are very dangerous. And so as I have been cruising around YouTube, I've got a negative vibe. I mean, seriously, last week, as today is now Sunday, I saw a channel done by a woman who's got a family, and the video that was recommended on my feed was of her moving, and you can hover over it and you see her giving a tour of her brand new house. It's a new subdivision house, newly built, very nice, and her family all is moving in. And so I click on the channel, see what other things she's got, and that was her last video. And it was 7 months ago. I'm pretty sure YouTube did not ban her channel for that one. But, I mean, that's sad. She's got an improved life, quality of life improvement, and she's now gone. We don't know anything more about her, what's going on. And I've seen dozens of similar channels where people are just gone. I did the one video of ex-Mormons. Gone. And so it's sad. It really is sad. And here you have 5 million views for 8 years ago, Saturday Night Live, New Jersey game show. There's 3 years ago, Autumn's Eve, 1.8 million. the McKenna lady, is that her last name? She now does commercials. So you quit SNL to do commercials. I don't see her on SNL anymore. Did she do something racist that I don't know about? And now she's stuck doing commercials. There were commercials on SNL as I watched this morning. But apparently, the video I did this morning, I put the wrong SNL characters on the front. Probably should have used Colin. He's the one married to a Marvel superheroine. And here you have Stephen Colbert, 1.6 million 3 days ago for Presidents Are Not Kings. Judge rebuffs it should be asterisk 45, claims to executive privilege. And he's got the cover where he's going. And so it's good to see that Stephen Colbert is back in the studio and other people writing his scripts for him. It was kind of sad when he was stuck at home having to rely on his own abilities, and his wife and children were doing better than him. I don't think he'd get mad at me for saying that. I don't think. And then Prince. There are people that are releasing unreleased songs of his. 4 weeks ago, only 65K. And I'm not seeing a feature like I do on my channels where I can decide whether I want to look at the oldest, the newest, or the most popular, because there's one that had 110 million views, and somewhat recently yeah, I don't see how you can see which is popular. YouTube apps. I don't see a feature for that. And that only minimizes the thing. It doesn't do anything. So yeah, I don't see how. But my goodness, she's not dead. She did a follow-up video. Only got several 100,000. And then she did another follow-up video, and somewhere in the tens of thousands. But, oh my goodness, all the people that are gone. Where are all the YouTube creators gone? Long time passing, when will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Yeah, they haven't learned. I think Colin mentioned that, brought that up in his jokes. So, 110 million. That's like everybody. You guys have already seen it. You already know what I'm talking about, don't you? You know the video. 110 million. That's incredible. See, now that the consequences are happening, nobody wants to hear about lessons and consequences. You know, yeah. Quit rubbing it in so that you can then forget, and then something else will come along, and then you'll ignore the consequences for that, and then the same cycle continues over and over again. But it's important to understand that our beliefs have consequences when we begin to implement them. That they will lead to a result. And if you aren't going to like the results or the consequences, you really should have thought of that with the belief. And so we've got a whole world right now that wishes that the consequences did not exist. That they could go back to their lifestyles before all this happened. And it ain't gonna happen, because these are the consequences which were enforced upon us by our leaders, both religious, economic, and government. And so these are the consequences. Don't think that this is a natural occurring thing. There's nothing we could have done. We were told by the medical professionals what we needed to do to prevent these consequences. We didn't prevent these consequences, did we? Which means we did not adhere to the medical professionals. And so here, on Friday, President Dallin H. Oaks, Mr. Promoter of, oh, there's a YouTube video of it. Well, this should be banned. He went to the University of Virginia and then gave an anti-government talk. But of course, the church news doesn't discuss the anti-government aspect. They only cover, President Oaks urges a better way, it's actually one rather than two, but to resolve our differences without compromising core values. In short, we need to go back in history, back in time, as Kylie Minogue says, to last year. Black lives were following their First Amendment right to petition the government for redress of grievances through protesting. Why protesting? Why can't they sue? Well, because the government won't let them. You know, the Black Lives Matter protest was all about cops denying them petitioning for a redress of grievances. And so in the course of protesting police violence, police got violent. And so not a good example set by the nation's police departments. And then they all had representatives from the various police forces across the nation who joined, pretending to support them, and then they betrayed them. But the church came out, and Oaks was one of them, and said that people should not be protesting. They should be suing. Now in Utah, the church definitely wants people not to protest the church. They would rather people sue the church. Why would they want people to sue the church in Utah? Well, you see, there's these things called judges, and in Utah, they're all beholden to loyalty oaths with the church. So good luck winning a case against the church in the state of Utah. But now, as of Friday, he's saying, screw the First Amendment, screw petitioning for a redress of grievances, except for religious freedom, But we've got this religious freedom movement that he's a part of, and has been exposed with the little black book of the secret combination within America that's seeking to destroy it. Oakes himself has personal connections with members directly tied to that little black book of evil. Did the videos. And the Scousins are members of it. But now he's saying, yeah, screw the Constitution. We need to change the law. A better way to resolve our differences without compromising core values. I've been doing standards and values videos not too long ago. I wonder if my videos had an effect on him and an influence in his decision to speak. Let's find out how long ago it was. TWG would be a place to look. Yeah, nobody cares about it. See, Sundays used to be the big days for me. That's when people would, watch my videos during sacrament meeting. Not anymore. So yeah, 2 days ago. So that was Friday. So I started it on Friday? Huh. Interesting timing. Oh, there we go. 3 days ago. That's when I did the first. So, okay. Yep. Source of evil for Mormon standards and values. It's only at 30 views in 3 days. It ain't no 110 million. I wonder if there's people that are in the billions. Those would have to be in the early days when YouTube paid according to the number of views you got, and so people learned to create this thing called bots, and they would be used to boost up people's views so that they can get money. So YouTube had to shut that all down, start a new algorithm process. Yep, there it is. He says, we now need a new workable balance between religious freedom, that's now a trigger word, and non-discrimination. Because religious freedom needs to discriminate. We need to be sexist, racist, bigoted, and hate the poor and the needy. He pointed believers to a better way by stressing the Christ-centered virtues of loving, listening, respecting, negotiating, persuading, balancing. What? That is not the example he sets. He speaks one thing and means another. I just, unbelievable how evil this guy is. I mean, literally. When the judicial decision was about to render its verdict in Chicago, where he used to go to school, he came out with a video trying to influence those judges' decisions in that case, to let that little boy fry. Dear God. He is just an evil man. And he's short, too, which could explain a lot. Shorter people tend to be less tolerant and less loving. Right? Now I'm going to have a whole bunch of thumbs down. But again, why are you putting thumbs down on my video condemning from the evils and criminal behavior of the church. It's because they taught you to do that. We should accept the reality your reality, based on your spiritual witness. There are consequences for this. Painful conflicts? What painful conflict? Between religious freedom and non-discrimination? See how he's wording that? He used to be a prosecuting attorney who was elevated, exalted, to the Supreme Court of Utah when he was called in to be an apostle, way back with Nelson under Kimball. It's just unbelievable. So it must have been the Deseret News that talked about that. So I'm scanning over to see if I can find it here in the church news. We should avoid being unduly influenced by extreme voices. Rich people always say that the poor think that they need more money because they're poor. Likewise, the poor say that the rich think that the poor because they're rich. Yeah. So here Oaks is pulling that stunt by calling extreme voices when Oaks himself is an extreme voice. Notice it's not popular voice, and it's an extreme voice. That which you falsely accuse in others reveals the same and worse fault in yourself. It's a basic principle that's all over the scriptures. Polarize. Yes, don't you? Sow resentment. Yes, don't you? Again, look at my channel. Look at my channels. Look at the sown resentment by Oaks towards me. And he's simply saying, oh, Travis, you're violating my religious freedom, and so I have to have you assassinated. Yeah, you're not responsible in the first cause, are you? Again, this is his beliefs that are being vocalized, that he himself has been an extreme voice that has incited Mormons to hate, to violence, to his racist, sexist, bigoted, and hate of the poor and needy belief system. You guys are all going to church today because of the church and their anti-government, anti-science, and fallacious thinking process that they've imposed onto you. Remember, we're still in a pandemic. Church is a super spreader still. And so, how many of you are going to church and not watching my videos anymore, who are then going to get others infected? Maybe it'll be you that I will find your channel and you'll be gone. I'll never get to hear more from you because you're gone. I won't get to find out about your new life in your new home because you're gone. Because you're definitely not the 110 million person. But the church They're multi-trillionaires. And so that makes it even worse because they profit off of you. During coronavirus last year, $6 billion through the stock market for coronavirus. For it to upend everyone's life in the world. The church made $6 billion. They were among the top most profitable corporations in the world from coronavirus. $6 billion just through tithing. They have other investment companies. We don't know those yet. And so now this year, we've got the vaccine, Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. Oh, the church owns stock on those too. Wow. Exclusive contracts through the government that raises their stock prices, and the church is in on it. Wow. Yay. So the church then benefits either way, by getting everyone vaccinated and by keeping the virus going. Wow, what an example for Mormons they are. But again, after the whistleblower came out and exposed the tithing scam, criminal violations, the first presidency, including Oaks, were just following the parable of the talents. Yay! Setting a Christ-like example as they hate the poor. They tell Mormons, you are suffering because you were not self-reliant. You did not follow our example of self-reliance. Wow. So, helping the poor and needy, not on the table. The example of the Utah Compromise and the Reed-Smoot hearings. What about the Emmons-Tucker Act? Or when the United States took over the Kingdom of Deseret. The church came into the Utah Valley 24th of July, 1847. This was Mexico territory. Now they want you to forget about all of that, other than they have a parade every year. Instead of celebrating Utah being founded. Brigham Young took over the whole Mexico territory. But then the next year, the United States came in and Mexico seceded. And it became United States territory. And thus became Utah territory, and then states emerged in the aftermath. With the United States coming in the next year, Brigham Young's kingdom was destroyed. The church and his organization, which didn't get organized until 1851, when Brigham Young also then came out and said, hey, we're practicing polygamy, thus the Reed-Smoot hearings. And Adam is now our Heavenly Father, and Joseph Smith was responsible for all of this. That's why we're doing it. No, that's why you're doing it. Own up to it. You are not the true successor. And so that's a little background story that the church does not want you to know about. But Nelson is bringing it back. I've done over the videos with you. Just the law of chastity alone should scare everyone for what their true anti-government agenda is. Greater number of parties. He's not even saying the word. An episode from the early 20th century of the Church of Jesus Christ suggests a way forward. The national debate between 1903 and 1907 over letting Reed Smoot, an apostle, keep his United States Senate seat. Many didn't want Smoot in office because of his church leadership role and some of the faith's practices. Oaks, do I need to educate you on church history? Oh my God! Oh my God! Polygamy has always been illegal in the United States. This is why Joseph Smith did not practice it, not even in secret. It would be an anti-government organization if they were practicing it in secret. The Danites are well known and established as having practiced it in secret. The Danites were not under Joseph Smith. I went over 116 with you where Joseph Smith knew about the Danites but did not know the leadership quite yet. He was still unaware of its organization and how deeply infiltrated it was in his organization. Nonetheless, he did that section in the Doctrine and Covenants, section 117, and condemned a certain Mormon for his affiliation with a code name for the Danites. Comes from Revelation. And thus it is not a real organization back then. Thus it's a code. And the church did not decode it. And so when Brigham Young, after assassinating Joseph Smith, having paid and ordered it, having John Taylor and Willard Richards as the inside men to make sure it happened, John Taylor shot Hiram and Willard Richards shot Joseph in the back. Brigham Young then extorted women. Hey, Joseph was doing this the whole time. We've got these women who can testify that Joseph Smith is sealed to them. Oh, I guess if it's the Lord's will, I'll be your bride too. And so the criminal operation of polygamy is now being trafficked out of the United States. You know, the Days of 47 celebration. That's called a lot more motorcycles on Sunday. Sex slave trafficking by the church, by Brigham Young, a prophet of the true and living Christ, as he's the true successor of Joseph Smith. Because murder, I guess, is what qualifies. But the Edmunds-Tucker Act, that was under Wilford Woodruff, you know, Mr. Official Declaration guy, as the church now wants to call that revelation, said, your practice with tithing at the tithing yard is criminal. Not polygamy, tithing. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, incorporated by Brigham Young in 1851, was now called the former or late Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in that Supreme Court decision. Romney was the one. And the Supreme Court said, nope, shut the church down. We cannot have criminal operations claiming to be religious organizations. Religions do not have religious freedom to commit crimes in the United States. And this was over tithing. Church wants to say, oh, well, faith's practices. You see what Oakes is purposely leaving out? And his agenda to purposely have allowed? They're doing a full-on blitz now to get the laws changed. I wonder if they've got a deadline to meet. And so with the closing of the church, they found that, oh my God, they are practicing polygamy too. Well, you can't have that either. You need to stop that and shut that down. Wilford Woodruff, thrown in jail. He eventually had to submit to the laws of the United States. You know, Article of Faith number 12. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. There's a whole bunch of branch-off groups from Brigham Young during that time period who say, hell no, we're anti-government because Brigham Young taught us to be. We're from the Danites too. But Wilford Woodruff was a snowflake and caved to the United States government rather than declaring war. And eventually had to come out with official declaration number 1, as he had to come out with it a couple more times. I think the one we have, I think, is the third one. Could be the second one, I'm not quite sure. He may have had to re-emphasize the second one on the third time. But again, read Smoot. The church was not adhering to the laws of the land. Oh, but it's the faith's practices, says Oakes. Do you see the example? That is very, very bad, very, very dangerous, very, very deadly, coming from Oakes. Mr. Heil Hitler, at the Aaronic priesthood session, the priesthood session where the Aaronic priesthood were singing in the choir, and he gives the Sieg Heil to them as he's leaving. Oops, they should have cut off the camera. Because there was a certain guy who was recording it and made it known on his YouTube channel, which YouTube eventually shut it down or banned that video during a certain lawsuit by that same guy against the church, and then appealed to get it back. It's just sick and disgusting. Because tithing still continues. The scams, the frauds, the criminal operations still continues with tithing. As the church says, oh, it was only about our faith practices. No. The church was disincorporated. It ceased to exist with Wilford Woodruff. And so Lorenzo Snow, which, Windows of Heaven, it wasn't about a drought or some talk in St. George. It was about paying off, or renting rather, some of their buildings back. Using tithing that they were shut down for to rent them back. And then Joseph Fielding Smith, that's a sad situation. He was one of the kids as his mother was trafficked. She did not have kids through Heber. Heber tricked her into coming to Utah. And women did not have rights. The women's suffrage movement had not yet happened, let alone the civil rights and the Equal Rights Amendment that the church here in Utah made sure that it didn't go through and didn't get ratified as an amendment. Again, sexist. I mean, seriously, Mormon women, do you not understand that the church hates you? You are only for children. That's it. That's all the church thinks of you. They have had to tolerate your protests to be advanced enough in the Relief Society to have representation in the boys' club. Or shall I say the good old, is it people? The GOP. It stands for good old party. That's the good old boys. It's a racist, sexist, bigoted, hateful of the poor and the needy. Just like the church. And blacks. I'm just jaw shocked. You have the Genesis group, and you can't see that that's segregation by the church, even after 1978. I witnessed it right here in my very own ward when I was going, when I was allowed to go. New member comes in, he's black. Members come up to him to say hi, as I was in the Elders Quorum secretary. I was Elders Quorum secretary at the time, among many other jobs other than leadership. So I needed to get his information so that we can get his records. And other people came up to him and said, "Oh, hey, welcome. Do you know about the Genesis group?" I haven't got his information yet, and people were already trying to kick him out. Oh, dear God. And then Operation Rio Grande, that was started by the church. They were sick and tired and fed up with all the poor and homeless begging for money at Temple Square, because they're causing a problem, a disturbance for those who want to participate in some of the faith's practices. And so, yeah, the compromised Utah government plotted exactly how to do this. The Gateway Mall, with eventual housing developments right across the street from the overcrowded homeless shelter. What a disaster. But that was the church. Oh, the news didn't cover that. No duh. That's what criminal organizations do. They get other people to distance the church from it. And in here in Utah, well, the church can get government to do it. Isn't that great? Who's going to stop the government? You know, like the gerrymandered redistricting now that was just accomplished on Friday, signed by Cox. Yeah, so the church news doesn't even, well, yeah, got still a ways to go. Seeing the fruits of faith. I told you, they're still watching my videos. This is a response by Oaks to me. But yes, we're seeing the fruits of belief. We're seeing the results, and they're corrupt, they're rotten, they're evil, they're deadly. And Oaks is pulling a fast one on you. As a church, we are committed to the free exercise of religion to allow us to practice the principles of our faith. But we are also committed to fundamental fairness and the rule of law. So we're going to change the law to allow us to practice the principles of our faith. And people shouldn't protest, and people shouldn't sue. They should seek to have the laws and the Constitution changed. Oh my God! And so yeah, he refers to other government leaders. Senator Harry Reid. Jeff Flake became a U.S. ambassador designate to Turkey. Huh. And then Tim Kaine. There's a Kaine in Buck Rogers. Written by a Mormon. Hilarious. Yeah, they don't talk about the changing of the laws in this one. It was the Deseret News, I guess. I saw the other day. I mean, this is just downright evil, as he purposely ignores church history to promote his anti-government agenda. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, and look, he's shaking hands with Senator Reid's wife, who's in a wheelchair, and they're all masked. Again, where was the church coming out and saying, hey guys, we are shutting down the church preemptively. I know no government leader is calling for it yet, but as I'm a medical doctor, Nelson's a medical doctor, I understand the importance of protecting Mormon lives, so we will shut this church down, and we encourage all wards to use the internet for meetings on a weekly basis we'll keep the home teaching program. I guess we got to reinstate it, don't we? Oh man, what did I do there? I blew that one. Well, we're reinstating home teaching. Ministry program? What was I thinking? Those fruits are bad. And so we'll make sure all of you are safe and protected. And I'm expecting that this will get worse because of our current example in the White House, whose fruits have demonstrated to be of the most vile corruption. And so we are going to prepare to provide you with regular survival kits until this virus has passed over. because Jesus talked to me in person the other day and warned me. Alright? That's exactly what happened, right? That's now the literal history that will be in the church's records from henceforth and forever, right? That the church had tried to protect the Mormons and had warned them from the beginning to keep them home, to not go to church today, because it's still technically a pandemic. People going to church today are anti-government, not listening to the medical professionals, which means they're anti-science, and their justifications are all based on fallacy. Again, consequences. As a leader, you set the example for your followers. Again, I can go over the Book of Mormon, King Noah. Wow. He was a bad man, and the people saw that example and went, yay, we can be bad too. That's what it is with Mormons now. Mormons are bad because I just went over Oaks, the most vile of Mormons, the Mormon prophets. And you have a responsibility to those who are your followers, whether you're in business, government, or religion. You are responsible. You, as the captain of the ship, go down with the ship if your consequences are bad. You cannot deny the consequences. You can't say, well, we need to change the laws. People need to not protest us when we do something wrong, to take away their rights to life, liberty, and property. We're going to call them domestic terrorists when they protest us. And they can't sue us. They might sue outside of Utah. And a judge might not understand the faith's practices. But they're still getting away with it. But did you catch the news lately? Or did you watch it on Twitter? There's a certain seditious traitor convicted, though pardoned, General Michael Flynn, who also had follow-up treason with the January 6th insurrection. He is now coming out and suggesting that there be one religion. Uh-oh. Oaks, I don't think you counted on that one. Is that why you were trying to convert at the last minute on the deathbed evangelicals? Because you know that's the religion Michael Flynn is talking about. One religion under Trump, indivisible, with liberty and justice only for us, and no one else. Uh-oh. You're going to have to flash your money around to get Flynn to stop talking about that, unless he's referring to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Breaking news, the church and secret communications with Michael Flynn have converted him to Mormonism. And he's being used as a spy to convert evangelicals to Mormonism. Oh my God. We're in such deep doggy doo-doo. Oh dear God. But these are consequences, guys. How do I get it across to you? Is there some slang term these days that I'm not using? Is my language now archaic? Do you not understand what consequences are? Is it something like hizzle for shizzle? That's an archaic slang. Oh dear God. See, I remember when ain't, the teachers were getting all upset. Don't use ain't. Ain't a word. And now it's commonplace. Everybody uses ain't. It is now an official word. Oh dear God. Consequences.